Coming to you from the Oddball Podcast Studios in New York City. My name is Vin Forte, and you're listening to Oddball with Vin Forte. Go follow the show over on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast from. Go subscribe there. You know where to get your podcast from. You're listening to one right now, and also, if you're not listening, then you're watching. And if you're not watching, then what are you doing? Go subscribe over on YouTube, youtube.com/@Oddball Podcast. I'm putting video components. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. We're putting videos up. on YouTube, full episodes. Go subscribe. Make sure that you go support that. That's the big thing that I'm pushing right now. You may have seen on social media, putting up individual clips, full episodes on YouTube. Speaking of social media, at Oddball Podcast over on Twitter, at Mighty Vin for the personal account, and at Vin Forte NYC for the Instagram. Now, there's really no question what the top story is this week. And I know on social media I teased it was going to be the Miami Heat mascot Burnie getting punched out by Conor McGregor. And we'll get to that. I got a little overzealous and said it would be the top story. But it can't be the top story. There's no way it could be the top story. Because this has got to be the top story. We'll do the big shot with it. Ooh, look at that. Fancy. Nuggets win. First championship for the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic, finals MVP. As if it could have been anyone else. And first of all, congratulations to them. Like this is a team that as many people have and will point out, or will be pointing out in the coming days, this is not a team that was bought. This is not a team that came into fruition because they added, that one big missing piece of the puzzle. This is a team that was made through good old-fashioned patience. Jamal Murray had the ACL injury. They preached patience. They let him come back. Didn't try and dump him off or trade him or anything. He came back. He showed what he was worth. Jokic, they gave him time. He wasn't a super, he was great, still good, but he wasn't a superstar right away. Obviously, we've all seen the clip of draft night when he got picked during a Taco Bell commercial. Taco Bell would be very wise to tie in a promotion to that now. But in any case, he was not a superstar right away. And even in the past couple of years, like him and Giannis have had similar trajectories. And if we look at the past couple of champions, and that includes Golden State, and I would even say that includes, you could say the Lakers are an outlier, but, taking them out of the equation, the vast majority of the recent champions were built through patience, through making good picks in the draft, sticking with them, building around and believing in the core that you have. You look at the Nuggets, that's what they did. You look at Giannis and the Bucks, that's what they did. And again, the parallel between the Bucks especially, two-time MVP in Giannis. When's he going to win the big one? He fails spectacularly in the playoffs, comes back the next year, wins the big one. They kept a good core around him, complimentary players, guys that wanted to be there, no egos, were there to win a championship. Pretty sure, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope doesn't care about being a superstar. Pretty sure Jamal Murray, given, his very emotional reaction at the end of the finals, does not care all that much about being a superstar or an all-star. Yeah, it's nice, but what's even better than that? Getting to hold up that Larry O.B. Getting to hold up that trophy at the end of the season when, you've beaten everyone else. And Jokic, then we get to him. Man that he just wants to go home now, man. He wants to go home. But we'll actually get to him in a minute. I do want to add, I like that Coach Mike Malone at the end there when they were interviewing him. Nam Silver was interviewing him at the end of the finals. He put it all out on the table. He said, look, we don't want to stop here. When you get a championship, Then you sort of go to that next level where the championship is just the first step. Now they want to be a dynasty. And given the way they've built this, again, going back even to the Warriors. Warriors won last year. How do you think they were built? Yeah, they added a couple new pieces, but they added those pieces through the draft. They've tried like hell to hold on to that core of Steph, Clay, and Dre for almost 10 years now. And you could debate whether or not they're considered a dynasty. People call them a mini dynasty. I think they're in the spot that, a team like the Spurs were in. I think that's exactly where the Nuggets are going to be. I don't know if they repeat. I'm not going to be so bold as to make that prediction now, but I can 100% see them being in a position like the Spurs of the 2000s and early 2010s, where they don't win every year, but they're always contending, they're always in the playoffs, and they always have a shot to get the big one. And every couple of years they do. And I think that's exactly where Denver is, and I think they're in a good spot going forward. I don't see them breaking up this core. Mike Malone has been the coach of that team for 8 years? That's insane when we look at the coaching situation right now in the NBA. Where, this past year, Doc Rivers, and look, you can say what you want about Doc Rivers, but the fact is, like him, Monty Williams, Nick Nurse, all these guys, like big-time coaches. Monty Williams, like, why would... That's the most baffling one to me. That's a whole other conversation. But the fact that Phoenix got rid of Monty, it's like, okay, that's what you wanted. And now, look, God bless him. He's getting a big old bag from Detroit, and I think he's going to work some magic down there. Maybe, hopefully. I know coaching isn't everything, but there are some coaches that, you put them with a group of young guys, they can mold that group into something that you can work with. They can suss out who wants to be there, who doesn't, who's got the juice, who doesn't, who's the superstars in the making, who are the complementary player. Like, smart coaches can do that. They may not be able to guarantee that you can make a big playoff run, but some coaches are just that good. Well, they'll get you in contention. Doc Rivers, again, not a playoff coach. You can say, oh, well, he's got a ring. I'm sure he's beloved in Boston, but when you look at his entire resume, he's not really a playoff coach. He's a rebuild coach. You need a guy to take your team from 2 to 7. He could do that. Can he get him from 7 to 10? Not really. Monty Williams couldn't close the deal, but there's no denying that, even with the championship aspirations aside, he's a big part of why that Phoenix team is what it is right now and why they've been contending every year for the past couple of years. So if he can do that in Detroit, that may be a big story going forward. This whole year is going to be, next season is going to be a big story going forward. Because you got Scoot Henderson coming in through the draft. You got Wembanyama going to the Spurs. So we may see the Spurs come out of nowhere and be a playoff contender again. But that's for another time. Let's keep our eye on the prize, refocus, and let's get to this man finally. Let's get to this man. Nikola Jokic. This guy, man, a lot has been said about Nikola Jokic throughout these playoffs. A lot. And you know what? Rightfully so. He's an enigmatic figure, a rarity in the NBA. A lot of people have said, well, he doesn't fit the mold of a superstar. Yeah, I get where people are coming from with that. But at the same time, I think his quirks and his idiosyncrasies make him a compelling figure. Even if he's not like boisterous and bombastic, I think he's compelling in his own way. The fact that at the end of the finals, he was like, work is done, I can go home now. And then he did the press conference where they asked him about, are you excited for the parade? And he looks over, he's like, when's the parade? Thursday? I just want to go home. This man just wants to go home and tend to his horses. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Like this picture right here, if you watch it on YouTube, the video of it where is even better. Where he's got the goggles on. For those listening, he's got the goggles on, he's got the champagne. He's shaking it, and then it just kind of womps out, doesn't shoot all over. And then he's just kind of like, okay, what do I do with this? Like he just does not want to be there. He's like, this is a job that I get paid to do. I had 2 extra months of work this year, and I just want to go home, get on a plane, go back to Serbia, and tend to my goddamn horses already. I want to see my family. I've been here for 2 extra months. I didn't sign up for this. I mean, I did sign up for this, but you know what I mean. Like he had to work. This man had to work overtime, and we don't like working overtime. Not in America, not in Serbia, nowhere. So he just wanted to go home and and be with his family and tend to his horses. But I'm glad that the narrative around him, people finally gotten on board. We talked a couple weeks ago about this sort of great migration of the groupthink, where everyone finally now we didn't see him in the regular season, but now that we're seeing him in the playoffs, like we know how great this guy is, and he was great. I don't have the stats in front of me, but if I recall correctly, throughout the playoffs, he averaged 30.4 points. 14 assists, almost just as many rebounds. Like this man is a machine. He's insane. And you know what? I actually do have the stat right here. I can give it to you for real. Jokic, according to the NBA, Finals MVP, averaging 30.2 points, 14 rebounds, 7.2 assists, 1.4 blocks over 5 games, and is the only player in NBA history to lead all players in points, rebounds, and assists in a single postseason. The only player ever. And that point total, by the way, a cool 600 on the dot. That's pretty good, man. Rebounds, 269. 269 rebounds. 190 assists. This man can do it all, and he does it without finesse. He's just going to barrel through you. I wish I would have had the foresight to bring this clip up on YouTube, but there's an image I saw the other day where people were comparing Jokic and other greats, and it was a picture of Shaq during the finals where they beat the Nets, unfortunately, for me. And there were like 5 guys guarding Shaq at the rim, and he just blows right through them, gets the dunk. And I feel like, well, that's not Jokic per se. I think the sentiment applies to Jokic, if that makes sense. Where it's not going to be pretty. You're not going to go like, oh my God, look at the handles on Jokic. But he's gonna brute force his way through. When he takes a 3 or when he takes a shot from a wonky angle, it's going to look bad, but it's going to go in. And that's what's amazing. Look, I'm not going to say anyone, but in terms of parlance, you know what I'm trying to say. Anyone who's got the skills can make a shot look good, can finesse it, look at that guy, he's got the touch. But it's a whole other kind of skill where it looks like you should not make this shot in any world, any multiverse, wherever you want to plop this guy down into. Whatever universe, he should not be making the shots that he's making, but they go in. That to me is almost more impressive. That's skill. So I'm glad everyone's finally on the ball with Jokic. But with that said, you knew this was coming. As you see on the screen right now, it begins. And you'll notice that I have an image up here on the screen. We're going to get to that. I meant to get to that when we talked about Jokic. But you know what? We're gonna breeze past that for a second so I can cut it up for YouTube. So if you're listening, don't even worry about what I just said. If you're watching, know that we're going to put a pin on that image. If you were just like, what the hell did I just see? But like I said, now it's a couple days after, and it begins. You knew this was coming. You knew it was coming. It was happening that night where people are throwing out the excuses, the exceptions. Oh, well, good for Denver, but if so and so hadn't gotten injured, or if something had swung the other way, or if the Celtics had actually won that series with the Heat, they were so close, then, Denver wouldn't have beat the Celtics, but because the Heat were originally an 8th seed, they were able to just breeze past the Heat. Come on, man. No championship. None in the NBA. No championship should be discredited with so many asterisks. Every year it happens. Every single year. Team wins. The day after, people start with excuses. I had to watch First Take the other day where this guy, and I love him. I'll be honest. I lived in New York City my entire life. Listened to Mike and the Mad Dog. I love me some Mad Dog. But he's on one. When he came out, and he was like, not to throw cold water, and he knew it too. He knows what he's doing. He's like, not to throw cold water on this celebration, but this Denver Nuggets team would not get past the 86 Celtics. And I'm sitting there like, what? 86? What are we talking about? What ass did you pull that from? Like, the 86 Celtics? Yeah, if we're having a conversation about, what legendary team would beat what legendary team, if we're doing fantasy booking, yeah, we could have that conversation. But the day after, it's not even 24 hours after, a championship team, does the unthinkable, wins it all, gets to the mountaintop. All of a sudden, we got to be like, wow, they wouldn't get past Larry Bird. It's like so that's what we're doing now? When a team wins, we got to automatically go back, 35 years and compare them to a team from when you were a child, or, when you were, however old in the 80s. That's what we got to do. We got to do that right away. And then, on Twitter, people going like, oh, well, name a bigger fluke than this year's team. People bringing up, Giannis, obviously the Raptors. Oh, well, if so-and-so didn't get injured, KD didn't get injured that year, they would have swept the they would have swept the Raptors. Okay, maybe so, but they didn't. Not every championship that doesn't then go on to be a dynasty is a fluke. I think we got to get out of this mindset, man. Like, oh, well, again, going back to the Raptors. Well, the Raptors weren't really all that because they just won that 1 year. Then they didn't win, let's say they don't win for the next 20 years. And then they didn't win, any time before that. So that one sort of aberration where they won in 2019, we got to discount that. No, that year they were the champions. That year they won the war of attrition. You could say, okay, there were injuries along the way. They could only play what's in front of them. What do you want to do? They take a time machine, go back in time, and stop Kevin Durant from getting injured? Go, no. We want you at full strength. Should they have waited it out? No, let's pause the finals. Wait for everyone to get healthy again so we could really see who's the best. No, they were the best team that year. And part of that is staying healthy. I've said it once, I've said it a million times. When you're a superstar, the best ability is availability. If you can't be on the court or you get injured, I'm sorry. The injuries are a part of the game. You may not like it. You could say some of them are just flukes, someone stepping the wrong way. 2 seconds here, a second there. Things might have been different. Yeah, things might have been different. If Kawhi Leonard, if that last shot didn't bounce 4 times and then go in. If it bounced 4 times and then happened to, bounce out of the rim, we may be talking about a whole different finals there. Whole different team. Could have been Philly. But it wasn't. And guess what? When you win that championship, you get to gloat. You won. I'm sorry. You won. And you get to take the credit for that. Again, you can only play who's in front of you. And like we mentioned before, when I was talking about Jokic and how this man, just wants to go home. He's had to play 2 extra months of basketball. It's 2 extra months. It's a lot of games. That's a lot that you have to get through, on top of making sure that you have a good seed, assumedly, are all healthy by the end of the season, and that your team is clicking on all cylinders by the time the postseason comes around. That's a lot that has to fall right. So your team's got to be good if you can get to the top. And also, the biggest thing, and I use this mostly when people talk about the Lakers winning in 2020, in the bubble, when they go, oh, wow, that's a fluke championship. It's a Mickey Mouse ring. They didn't really, if they didn't have that break. Well, you know what? Everyone else had that break too. Everyone else had that break. They could have gotten right. Everyone else had a big rest. And the playing field was even because they were all in a bubble. So why didn't your team win? Maybe they just weren't good enough. And I want to hear this excuse that, oh, well, guys like LeBron and AD, they had the money and the means to, stay in shape. NBA players, even role players, don't have the money to stay in shape? Are you kidding me? Don't even bring that argument up. But in general, it's just funny to me. The second they win, it's it begins. We gotta somehow devalue this championship. It ain't gonna happen. But now we move on. And I'm gonna move back to, we're gonna go backwards for a second. And I want you to take a look at this. I'm even gonna, well, I'll make it big. I'll put it big on the screen so you can see the whole thing for a second. This was from Bleacher Report. I don't know. They didn't say the artist. I'm sure it's some in-house person. But if you're not watching on YouTube, it's a picture of Jokic, Nikola Jokic, as the Joker, because obviously his nickname's the Joker. Fine. And what they were, I'm assuming, going for was he's now joining the table of, the greatest, big men, centers in history. Which, that's fine. I totally get that. Great. What it comes off as, though, is he's holding the NBA hostage. And we're waiting for Batman to come save the day. Because what the image actually is not just he's now at the table. He's threatening the table. Everyone else at the table, Shaq, Kareem, David Robinson, they all look frightened. Shaq's got his arm raised, oh, what's going on here? And Jokic is there in full Joker makeup. Full Heath Ledger Joker, by the way, the scariest Joker. And he's got the the string, I don't know what you call it, the choking string that you strangle someone with. He's just got wire. He's got choking wire with him, it looks like. And he looks like he's about to take down the entire NBA. And there's portraits of Bill Russell and Wilt behind him. And I don't know. It's just weird, man. I get that his nickname's the Joker. I get it. His nickname's Joker. You want to put him in Joker makeup and make a big Joker presentation. I got it. But did you have to draw everyone at the table like they're frightened out of their skin? Like they want to be anywhere else right now, and that Jokic is taking the entire table for ransom? It's just odd to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I thought that was a little funny. That was like the first thing that I saw when they won was that. And now, at long last, we get to what was teased all week. Going a little back in time, here it is. We're going to finally get to it. Burnie. The Miami Heat's mascot, Burnie, who, if you saw last week's episode with me and Martenzi Johnson from ESPN and Anscape, we talked about the mascots. Now, Rocky, the mountain lion, world-class mascot, apparently gets paid like six figures, $600,000, something like that. And he's worth every penny. Because that man, that lion of a man, is jumping on super ladders and descending from the rafters. Like, he's doing some legit stunts. Burnie, on the other hand, not quite. And this was on full display this past week when they brought out Conor McGregor, and Burnie comes out with big gold boxing gloves, and it's gonna be a little jokey, hey, we're gonna do a little fisticuffs. Hey, whoa, hey, oh, Marcus of Queensberry rules, Conor. Like, he thinks it's all jokes, and then Conor McGregor, bam, decks him right in the jaw. Burnie goes down. Obviously, like, the crowd is the crowd is cheering, hooting, and hollering because they think it's all part of the act. And apparently, like, a day later, all these news reports came out that, like, yeah, Burnie had to go to the doctor. Burnie had to, like, get rushed to the ER or something because he got clocked. Now, apparently he's okay. Burnie's okay, but I almost don't even know what to say, because going back to Rocky for a second, and I'm not going to show the footage because I don't know if it would be in poor taste or not, but you can look up the footage for yourself. About 10 years ago, Rocky had his own little mishap where they were having him descend from the rafters, and the guy in the Rocky suit was passed out. And it looked like they were hanging Rocky. But they kept the music going the whole time. It was very, very surreal. This was not as surreal as that. But this is close, because I think it's more the fact that the next day we found out that he was really hurt. Because again, in the moment, it's like, oh, they're doing a cute little, oh, Conor's going to beat him up and ha 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 ha. And then you wake up the next morning and it's like, wait, what? He was rushed to the, Burnie, poor Burnie. So that's a little insult to injury for Miami Heat fans. But you know what? I will say, just in general about the Miami Heat, what a story the past 2 months. Talk about, like, the little team that could. Obviously, they're going to be looking for that missing piece for their championship aspirations. But, what a ride. What a ride they've been on. And speaking of what a ride and what they need to do next, we'll bring up this man for just a minute, just as sort of like a, hey, put this in your back pocket. Damian Lillard. Where's he going? Where's Dame Time going? A lot of people saying he might go to the Nets. A lot of people saying he might go to the Heat. One place I don't think he's going to be, I would be shocked if he's going to be next season, is Portland. I think the time is up. I think Dame Time is up in Portland. I think it's just a matter of this is not a good fit anymore. He's got a good 5-6 years left of being in his prime based on how he plays and how he played last season. So, this if he's going to go somewhere, this is the time. This is the moment. This is the move he's got to make. And I think if he does it, no one in Portland is going to begrudge him. This is why it's the perfect time. Because nobody in Portland is going to be like, oh, he sold out. He left us. Nobody's going to be like, he left us. Okay? He stayed there through some pretty big runs of being thick and thin. Like, they've had some highs, for sure. For sure. And, most of that has been because of Damian Lillard. Let's not get it twisted. he's the reason for the season up in Portland. But now's the time where they've got a lot of young guys. They're looking to, make some moves so they can possibly get Scoot Henderson in the draft. Potentially. I think a lot of people are trying to get Scoot at this point, trying to trade some assets to get the pick. But, that's a separate conversation as it pertains to Dame right now. I think he would be better off somewhere else. And I think, again, my own bias aside, being a Nets fan, I think those are two pretty good options. Miami obviously needs that final piece. Jimmy Butler's a star, but he's not a consistent star. He can turn it on, but can he keep it on all the time? They need shooting. That's where Dame comes in. You cannot ask for better shooting than Damian Lillard. And then you get all the pieces around him that the Heat already have, the culture of the Heat. It really just makes sense. I would say that's the number one option. Number two, again, this isn't even with my bias included. I do think the Nets are an option for him. Because you've got Mikal Bridges. The Nets, I think in hindsight, and again, bias aside, walked away from that trade at the deadline pretty okay. They were able to keep their head above water, make the playoffs. They kind of, they're in a position where they've got good pieces. And they've got Mikal Bridges, and if they could figure out whatever the heck is going on with Cam Thomas, where he has a three-game amazing performance with 40 plus each game, and then just you don't hear from him the rest of the season. I don't know if Jacques Vaughn's got a vendetta against this kid, but whatever's going on, they've got pieces. And if you can add Damian Lillard to that, I'm not saying they could win a championship, but I am saying that they can get pretty deep. And then from there, who knows? Who knows what moves they make? Maybe they've learned from their big three era. Maybe. Fingers crossed on that one. That maybe they learned a goddamn thing from that. But that's Dame. He may go to the Heat. He may go to the Nets. May go somewhere we're not even thinking of right now. That's the offseason, baby. That's what it's all about. You just got to wait and see. I know people don't like hearing that. But sometimes, you just got to wait and see. And while you're waiting and seeing, now I'll say this now, a little programming note. Now that I've been doing more stuff on YouTube, one of the things that I want to do is start posting, maybe for the off season, do like a full season of an NBA or NCAA video game. So hit me up on Twitter at MightyVin, at Oddball Podcast. Let me know what NBA game you would like to see, or what basketball game you would like to see. Do you want to see something classic? Maybe from the 8 or 16-bit generation. Maybe you want to see, there's been a lot of resurgent talk about the NCAA basketball games of the early 2000s. Maybe, one of those 2K games with a nice ESPN presentation. Maybe one of the EA Sports games before EA, just sat on their laurels for 15 years. Let me know. But with that said, this is a good time to bring up a game that I talked about before a while back, quite a while back, in fact. Almost like 100 episodes ago. God, has it been that long? Yeah, shocking. It has. But this is a game called Basketball Classics. I'm gonna put it on the screen right now. I want to show a game called Basketball Classics. So if you're on YouTube, you're watching a trailer in the background for it. And I want to highlight this game because it's one of those games that is really flown under the radar the past couple of years. It's very, very good. To give you the elevator pitch, it's Tecmo Bowl, but for basketball. That's basically what it is. It's a two-man development team, and it's Tecmo Bowl style, but for basketball. And as you can see on the screen, they've got tons of teams. You may be asking yourself, well, do they have a license for these teams? No, that would cost an ungodly amount of money, but they get around it by omitting certain things. They don't refer to the teams by their names; they refer to them by where they are. So if they want to talk about like, oh, you can unlock legendary teams. Let's say the '96 Bulls. They just call them the '96 Chicago team. But the cool thing is, you still know who the players are. They do a very good job of presentation because every major player on the teams that are in here has like a pixel, like a big portrait of like pixel art. So if you see Charles Barkley, they're not going to say, okay, so and so is Charles Barkley. They're just going to have his number, and they'll give a portrait where it's like, okay, that's clearly Charles Barkley. So they do a very good job of sort of skirting those rules and giving you a lot of content. And the studio is Namo Gamo. I don't know. You see it there on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. But as you can also see on the screen, there's a lot of care and work has gone into this. Like you're seeing right now, push a button, jam the button to do the tip off. They have this 5-on-5 system where, when you get the ball, you run through lanes, and each lane is like, okay, I want to do a pick and roll, so I'll go to the top lane. Or I want to do ISO, so I'll do the middle lane. And then it pushes you automatically to the other side of the half court. The other side of the court, that half court on that side. And from there, like, the controls are simple. But there's some great animations like you're seeing on the screen right now. You could do chase downs, you could do blocks, and all of them, as you're seeing, have these cool little sort of animations to them. And there's a story mode, as you can see right here. There's Dr. J's head. See, there we go. There's the portraits right there. And they sort of do it like a Mega Man style, as you saw a couple seconds ago, where you see almost like you're picking a Mega Man boss. It's like, oh, there's a picture of Kareem from, the early 80s. Like, oh, do you want to challenge the Lakers of the early 80s? Do you want to challenge, Barkley's Suns from 93? So it's all these good mix of teams. And the courts are great. You can do an old style court. You can do a new style court. It's $10 on Steam. They've been updating it the past couple of years. I think last year was sort of the last big update, which allows you to basically create your own teams. So if you want to, go back, create modern teams, there are some modern teams in there. Again, the range of teams they give you that they've highlighted really runs the gamut. Goes through like the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. Like these guys have done a really good job. Like, I know to some people that, the presentation may seem a little simplistic. Again, they're modeling it after Tecmo Bowl. So they're going 8-bit, but they're doing like the best 8-bit they could get. The best they can do. You're seeing right here, like you see the playoff teams, Boston from 2008, San Antonio from 95. So, it's just a really fun game. It's worth your time if you're sick of 2K and you want a big juicy throwback to early gaming, good pixel art, great sort of pick up and play action. This is it. Go check it out. It's on Steam right now. Basketball Classics. Go pick it up. And with that said, I think we're going to end it there for this week. And, just want to let everyone know that we've got some fun stuff coming up now that the NBA season is officially over. Who knows? Maybe we'll focus on Big Three's coming up. Maybe we'll focus on the Big Three season. If anyone wants that. Listen, I've talked about Big Three in the past. Don't put the Big Three down. Maybe we'll see Dwight Howard in the Big Three. I know he's in Taiwan right now. Or was he? Someone saw something on Twitter where like, oh, he's not even in the Taiwanese league anymore. Or he was cut. I don't know. I hope that isn't true. I mean, if you've got the skills, you should be able to play somewhere. So shout out to Dwight Howard. Shout out to him. Go follow the show over on Twitter at Oddball Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Mighty Vin. Follow me over on Instagram at Vin Forte NYC. Most importantly, this video now, youtube.com/@ Oddball Podcast. Go subscribe over on YouTube to get full videos, clips, and then all the rest of that fun stuff will be on social media. With that said, I will see you back here next week, same time, same place. You've been listening to Oddball with Vin Forte. My name is Vin Forte. Like I said, I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.